Man, so we are continuing down the path of videos that I didn't think we'd be making, because it turns out both Jeff Marek and Elliotte Friedman dropped some bombs as to how things are looking at center. For two of my favorite teams, Montreal and Vancouver, this is an illy timed video because the Vancouver Canucks are playing off against Sergei Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers later today. And the Habs have the Blue Jackets, so hey, it's a perfect time to go out there and make a video commentary about both of these dudes. Either way, let's continue our conversation about centers. This is what Jeff Marek went out there and said on Sekeres and Price 3 days ago. Maybe outdated, but it is something that's worth discussing. Make no mistake about it. Vancouver is a part of the Steven Stamkos conversation, as is Montreal, as are a number of teams. And it's quite intriguing to me that when it comes to both of these teams, hey, the status quo is they're looking for centers. Steven Stamkos, I think, doesn't really play center anymore. I mean, you think about the Nashville Predators, you look at where he is on their lines, and yeah, no, Steven Stamkos is a top-line left wing, alongside of Erik Haula in the middle and Jonathan Marchessault on the right. He hasn't played center in a while, I would say, and this extends back into his Tampa Bay days. He wasn't going out there and playing down the middle on the power play, he was playing left flank in the Ovi spot, sitting and preparing for that Nikita Kucherov one-timer and burying it that way. You had Braden Point as a center in Tampa. You talk about these teams' need down the middle. Okay, Vancouver addressed that with David Kampf. You have Montreal that needs to address that more now because Kirby Dach is out and Nick Suzuki is not fully healthy, it seems. Oliver Kapanen, yeah, okay, he's a center, but maybe a little inexperienced. You would want to get a little more talent in that spot. But Steven Stamkos, I won't sit here and say that he provides much of that specifically. Now, the idea of Stamkos coming over to either of these teams and showing off his best self and rebounding in a way that overtakes everything he has accomplished in Nashville, that's exciting to me. If you're acquiring Steven Stamkos to be a 30-goal, 60-point goal-scoring winger, then that's intriguing. But I just don't know if he's what these teams need at center. Of course, you can be a lot more pessimistic on Steven Stamkos compared to me. I made a bunch of videos saying, hey, Stamkos actually does still have talent, and if you look at what he had done just recently, I get it, he's 35, but just 2 seasons ago, the guy was at 81 points in 79 games. It's hard to fully remove that level of point production from a guy. I have a hard time believing that he is really a 20-point pace caliber player at this stage of his career. Yes, he's older, but he had 27 goals last year. You don't just lose all of that in 1 year, even if you are 35. There is an element of Nashville sucking that I think plays a part of it. But when it comes specifically for centers, I don't know if Stamkos has the experience at this stage of his career to provide value in that spot, even though I would say that he is a pretty good goal scorer. And if you're able to get him on salary retained, it might be worth taking a shot if your intention is to play him on the wing. Now, with that in mind, let's shift gears over to another player that is a center, is a full-time guy, and whom the Canucks and Canadiens are also linked to. Take a look at this. Elliotte Friedman tweeted that John Beecher of the Boston Bruins was placed on waivers this morning. And Friedman was then on Donnie and Dolly, to which he spoke out and said to the folks on the show this: Montreal is looking for a center, and I don't think I would be surprised if Vancouver checked in on Beecher either. So there you go. Another name for either of these Canadian franchises to go out there and potentially look at and target. John Beecher is an interesting name because he's a guy who at one point was a highly touted prospect, I would say. There was a lot of interesting qualities that John Beecher brought to the NHL draft floor as a member of the Boston Bruins. Now, Beecher's a big dude, 6'3", 24 years old, 220 pounds, center left wing, drafted 30th overall by Boston in 2019. So he was a part of that really stacked NTDP squad, which included Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield, Trevor Zegras, Turcotte, Cam York, Spencer Knight, Alex Vlasic, and others. And he was pretty big in Michigan. I'll say big, not really amazing. His junior season with the Wolverines saw him put up 15 points in 34 games. Obviously, the Bruins liked his size. They liked the intangibles that he played with. It's why he was drafted so high in the first place. But Johnny Beecher last season had 11 points in 78 games played. He also has only 1 goal in 6 games this year. And now he's being placed on waivers. So obviously this is not a really positive progression for a guy who at one point was seen as the next big thing in Boston. Literally big thing. He's a big dude whose bread and butter, at least in the 2019 days, was playing in front of the net and using his body to shield the puck and create offense in that way, open up opportunities for his teammates. He just hasn't really been doing that all too well in Boston, hence the waiver situation. I'll sit here and say that if either Vancouver or Montreal go out there and claim John Beecher, I really don't know what it is they're getting, and I don't recognize if they actually have the talent to pull these teams outside of what it is they're in right now. Yeah, Montreal and Vancouver need second-line centers. They need help. They need extra support there, but John Beecher is not the guy to provide it. I mean, I get it. The Bruins have been pretty good this season, so you might say that there needs to be a change of scenery, etc., etc., but still, John Beecher, like, if you told me 5 years ago, oh yeah, John Beecher is going to be a target of interest for Vancouver and Montreal, I would have been excited for that at that point. But we have seen nothing for John Beecher to display the offensive ceiling that he had had with that NTDP squad when he was drafted in any point of his career afterwards. His University of Michigan point production was always subpar. Then he goes over to the AHL. He produces a little there, but he never really gets it together at the National Hockey League level. I mean, John Beecher, despite the fact that he is a young-ish guy, I don't think that he is really the needle mover that either of these teams need. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Vancouver, for example. By the time, like, 2 or 3 weeks rolls around, we're having the same conversations about him as we're having about Lukas Reichel right now, who utterly appears kind of useless in Vancouver, despite the fact that he was taken on as a potential fix down the middle. David Kampf is supposed to be the real fix now, but still, Vancouver could be looking for more center depth. I don't know if it's Stamkos. I don't know if it is John Beecher. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these two names as potential Vancouver or Montreal acquisitions? John Beecher, Steven Stamkos, let me know in the comment section all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.